Okay, section 5.6, this is our review for Algebra 2 leading up to our assessment on quadratic functions and complex numbers. First problem you see is a subtraction, okay? So this is, remember you subtract the real parts and the imaginary parts, so this is going to be 2 minus 1, okay, that's the real part, and then you're going to have minus 4i minus negative 1 half I. Okay, that's the imaginary part. So the real part here, that's going to be 1. And then this is going to be minus 4. Let me back up, sorry. If I've got to do this, this is going to be minus, why don't I write this as 8 halves I? That's the same as negative 4. So minus 8 halves I plus 1 half I, because I've got those two negatives. So negative 8 halves plus 1 half, that's negative 7 halves. So this answer is 1 minus 7 halves I. So I subtracted the real parts. 2 minus 1 is going to be 1. And then negative 4 minus negative 1 half. So that's going to be negative 8 halves plus 1 half, negative 7 halves, or negative 3.5 is what you see there. Okay. Next one is a multiplication. So I need to FOIL this. So probably easier, I like to write it as, 4 minus 3i. And then let me just write this as 7 plus i. Then I get, so this is what, 28. And then I get plus 4i minus 21i. And then I get minus 3i squared. Let me double check it. So that's 28 plus 4i minus 21i minus 3i squared. So that is 28. And this is 21 minus 4, so that's minus 17i. And then minus 3 times negative 1. So that's 28 minus 17i plus 3. So that's 31 minus 17i. Next one looks like a multiplication. So I've got I times 1 minus I times I. So that's I times 1 minus I. So that's I squared times 1 minus I. What is I squared? That's negative 1. So this is negative 1 times 1 minus I, which is just simply negative 1 plus I. So you distribute that negative inside the parentheses. The square root of I to the 702nd power. So square root of I to the 702. So first thing, let's find out what I to the 702 is. So if I divide 4 into 702, so 4 would go into there one time, that's 4, leaves me at 3. 4 will go into 37 times, that's 28. That leaves me at 2, bring down the 2. 4 will go into here 5 times, that's 20, and my remainder is 2. Okay, so that tells me with my remainder is 2, that means that I to the 702, so I to the 702 is just I squared, because that's my remainder. So I'm looking for the square root of I squared. That's the square root of negative 1. Square root of negative 1 is I by definition. Okay? On to the next one. This is a subtraction. So you've got 1 plus 2i minus, and this is just negative 1 plus 2i. Okay? So I'm going to have 1 minus negative 1, and then I'm going to have plus 2i minus 2i. So 1 minus negative 1 is 2, plus 0. This answer is just simply 2. Okay? I to the 76th power. Again, the magic is just dividing this. 4 will go into 76. It will go into there one time. That leaves you a 3. 4 will go into 36 9 times. So that's 36. My remainder is 0. So really, this is I to the 76. I to the 76 is the same as I to the 4th to the 19th, which is just 1, okay? Because I to the 4th is 1. Or when you get this remainder 0, I to the 0 is just 1. So your answer is 1 in this case. Then we have a couple of divisions, which is just a fancy word for saying lots of multiplication. So 3 plus I over 2 minus I. I need to multiply this by the complex conjugate, which is 2 plus I over 2 plus I. Okay. When I do that, on the top, I'm going to get 6 plus 3I plus 2I plus I squared. And on the bottom, I would get 4 minus 2I plus 2I minus I squared. So now it's just a matter of simplifying. The top is 6 plus 5I minus 1. And over here I have 4 minus negative 1. So this becomes 6, so 6 minus 1, this becomes 5 plus 5I over 5, which is just 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5I, which is 1 plus I. And the next one, 2 over 1 plus I. So 2 over 1 plus I. I need to multiply that by 1 in the form of 1 minus I over 1 minus I. That will clear the denominator for me. So if I do this, I get 2 times 1 minus I over, if I do this, I get 1 minus I plus I minus I squared. The numerator becomes 2 minus 2I. And then this becomes 1 minus negative 1. So I get 2 minus 2I over 2, which is just 2 over 2 minus 2 over 2I, which is 1 minus I. Okay, that's the end of page 1 of the review. That's our complex numbers. We'll come back with doing some graph of quadratic functions.